Welcome to the Rad Sports Show, where the takes are hot, the vibes are right, and sports talk is always unfiltered.
Righteous.
With your hosts, Rick Horn.
Yeah, that's right. The man with the golden voice.
And I thought insurance salesmen were pushy.
And Danny Gilmore.
Sounds like some Lord of the Ring preacher.
That's barbaric.
So sit back, crack open a drink, and let's talk some sports. Welcome to the Rad Sports Show, where the takes are hot, the vibes are right, and sports talk is always unfiltered.
Righteous.
With your hosts, Rick Horn.
Yeah, that's right. The man with the golden voice.
And I thought insurance salesmen were pushy.
And Danny Gilmore.
Sounds like some Lord of the Ring preacher.
That's barbaric.
So sit back, crack open a drink, and let's talk some sports.
Friday, July 10th, 2026. Welcome to the Rad Sports Show. It's another Friday night, and we are live once again. Rick Horn and Danny Gilmore, your capable hosts this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got some UFC fights to talk about tonight. The rematch between Conor McGregor and Max Holloway, along with Benoit Saint Denis and Paddy Pimblett as your headliners for UFC 329. We'll look at the World Cup now that the U.S. has been eliminated. That sucked. But, speaking of American football, it is right around the corner. So we'll dive head first into the first of our NFL Divisional breakdown, starting with the AFC East, how we see the division playing out, along with some potential fantasy football targets. And as always, our weekly sports gambling segment, always a fan favorite. But if you haven't figured out by now, we're a three-man show tonight. Here to talk with us tonight about tomorrow night's UFC fights. Please join me in welcoming a very long-time friend of mine, one of my oldest friends, dating all the way back to 2013. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tyrek Drakeford, a.k.a. Big Drako, is up here in the house. What's going on, fellas? How was your 4th of July?
4th of July was good, man. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead.
4th of July was good. I was down here in Philadelphia. What's it called? It was some tornadoes out here. So, 4th
For
of
real?
July was great. Oh, yeah, some tornadoes. So we had barely any fireworks. I loved it.
No fireworks. That sucks.
I like my peace and quiet, man.
The man likes his peace and quiet.
Gross.
From now I'm in this area called King of Prussia. When I was living down in Philly, it's either gunshots or fireworks. I didn't know which one was going off. So,
Dude, that sounds exactly like my neighborhood. Have you guys heard like gunshots or fireworks like while we do the show, like on my mic?
I haven't. I have not.
Okay.
But that's just me.
It's definitely happened. Like, I know it's going to... All right. Next time it's going on in the background, I'll like, guys, shh, listen, is it a gun or is it a firework?
Yeah, our 4th of July was chaos, man. It was supposed to be just a very simple day, pretty laid back. I was an idiot and didn't check the weather, but I went out to the store just to go buy some bratwurst, for my wife and I to grill up. And on the way back, I get like 100 text messages from her saying that the dogs had pissed all over from like the front door all the way throughout our kitchen into the living room on that little rug like by our table. And so there was that whole thing. Then we go out to there's a little marina not too far from where I live, where one of my favorite little mom and pop seafood joints is. where they were going to have a big 4th of July, fireworks show along with some food vendors and some live music. It's just going to be a real gentle, little charming 4th of July thing. Well, there ended up being like a massive thunderstorm, like that. They ended up doing the fireworks a little bit early to kind of try to beat the storm. But it started getting loud. I mean, loud and just horrible. So we were like, we kind of left the show early. But then on our way back, we're sitting here worried about, I have a golden retriever who, kind of rocking a shirt that looks like him tonight. But when we got back, the neighborhood that we live in, you're not supposed to shoot off fireworks in there. It's like kind of a private neighborhood. And some people had done so anyway. And it sent our golden retriever, America. But it sent our golden retriever into a whole, fucking, just a whirlwind. So he ended up clawing his way out of the kennel. Didn't tear anything else up in the house, but it was like, man, just one thing after another after another. A quick shout out to Excalibur. He says, good evening, gentlemen. I give high praise to Sir Rick for his generosity he hath bestowed upon myself. I sent him some pretty cool swag from here locally.
Oh, nice.
Because he had, he sent those rally towels a few weeks ago.
That's right. I don't know if I got mine. Mine's around
Tyrek
somewhere.
Excalibur is, that St. Louis Battlehawks team that I watch. He's like the unofficial mascot for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was going to say my 4th of July, a routine that I've been doing the last 3 or 4th of Julys is we have this, it's a dairy farm, but they've sort of built this thing up almost like it's a theme park. Not quite. There's only there's a carousel and some other stuff. But one of the things they have there is a batting cage. So I always go there and I hit the batting cages. So ripping, I had it up to about 80 miles an hour and I was ripping it, feeling pretty good. Then there's a driving range on the same place. I went and did that. And then I finished the day off with going to our local Springfield baseball team, which changed their names. They used to be the Champion City Kings. This year they are the Half Tracks. We'll go over here.
Half Tracks.
So, Half Tracks. So I just bought a jersey. And I want to see what you guys think. So this was their old logo. It's the hat. Whoops. The thing's mirrored, so when I turn it left, it turns right on the screen. It confuses me. So this is the logo, the hat for the Champion City Kings. They changed it. Tell me what you like better. To the Half Tracks.
I think I like the other one better because that one looks like it says Houston, Texas.
Yeah. Well, not because of that. I do like this one better, but the other one's growing on me, and I found out the reason they're the Half Tracks now is because the Champion City is the nickname of the city, and it's because we had the Champion City mower. It was the first industrial mower that was ever made, and it became a world thing where you hook it up to your buggy and you can mow fields and stuff. And so when World War II started, they switched production to doing the Half Track, which is the that truck from the Rescuers Down Under 2. Where he's got that 4-wheel drive thing, and then he's got the tank treads on the back. That's a Half Track. So that factory made those, so now we're the Half Track. So I decided to go all in and get a jersey, and they came back and won. They were down by 3 points in the 5th inning, and then they had a 5-run rally, and it was a good game. Happy 4th of July.
Good deal. Happy 4th of July indeed. Speaking of 4th of July and talking about America, it would not be right if we didn't mention a quick shout out to Kelsey Pfendler, the first American woman to row solo with no sail or anything like that, just a rowboat all the way from California to Hawaii. We were kind of following that our last show. She ended up finishing, I want to say it was maybe, it was crazy early in the morning, but anyway, her official time ended up being 43 days, 17 hours, 55 minutes, and 59 seconds, which the next fastest woman behind her was 40 days slower than that. And then the next fastest person, which was a man, was still a week slower than that. So, and it was badass that the first American woman to do it, it was right at the crack of dawn on the 4th of July. So that was awesome. Very fitting, the first American woman to finish her journey. She wasn't even really trying to break she was coming for the women's record, and certainly, it didn't really have any serious intention about breaking the men's record too, but that's freaking awesome. And then it just happened to be broken right there on the wee hours or very late hours of July 3rd, very wee hours of July 4th. So That
awesome.
is awesome. Well, what do you think, fellas? We've got some UFC fights tomorrow. UFC 329, the long-awaited rematch between Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. Let's get into it.
Saturday Night Violence is here.
Combo breaker! Flawless victory.
Welcome to the Rad Sports Show's Cage Side Chaos.
UFC 329, Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway 2. You know, we're talking about 2013. I've got my buddy here that I met all the way back in 2013. That is also the last time that Conor McGregor and Max Holloway fought. Was all the way back in 2013. So it's been a long time coming. Interesting card. To be honest with you, I kind of had to dig a little bit on this card. Some of these fighters, I really haven't been paying attention to a lot of the newer fighters, admittedly. But I think at the very least, obviously the main event, Conor McGregor, we can sit here and have a whole discussion about him. But I think that the co-main event, Benoit Saint Denis versus Paddy Pimblett, is an interesting fight as well. I'll kind of give my thoughts on that. But Tyrek, you're kind of the resident UFC or MMA guy. So I'm curious, have you had a chance to look at this card? Are there any fights in here that seem interesting to you, or just kind of give us your thoughts on this whole thing, whatever that may be?
Well, this card, I feel like it's kind of just put together just because they need to do something for International Fight Week, and they just put on the UFC 250th show at the White House where they stacked the deck. And I don't think anything is going to be better than that this year. But they had to do something for International Fight Week, right? But I know we're talking about Conor McGregor versus Holloway, but that, to me, that's not the real main event.
Oh.
The real main event is Miss Tracy Cortez versus Wayne.
I knew you were going to bring her up. Tyrek has had that is Tyrek's favorite fighter. I'll let him decide whether or not he wants to say why, but I'm pretty sure we can all figure out why.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be there with my beer in my hand, watching the prelims. I'll be like,
"Where's the other hand gonna be?" Okay.
Man, like I saw her do her. She did her ceremonial weigh-in this morning, and I almost passed out.
This is
great.
Funny. That's classic Tyrek, man. Classic Tyrek.
But,
so I mean,
no, you're good.
No, go ahead.
But Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway, right? Interesting match for McGregor's return, right? I didn't think this would be the fight. I thought it would be Michael Chandler, just because Michael Chandler's kind of a can.
Yeah.
He had a great Bellator career, but his UFC career has been very bad.
Right.
So I thought maybe they would have gave, Max is a huge test for Conor. McGregor fought him before he really became Max Holloway. You know what I mean? So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Our old buddy Chris is here at the show. He said he likes that take, and please stop talking about cooked out Conor. Clearly no one cares anymore. No one's excited. Nobody believes he's going to fight. I mean, unless he pulls out tomorrow, we'll see. Then my brother Shannon chimed in here and said, it's a proud moment to hear my brother asking another man where first of all, that wasn't me. That was Danny.
That was me, dude.
That was not me. He said, and Adam said, you're not excited, but you're going to watch still. I mean, look, first of all, Tyrek, I agree with everything you said. I'll be honest, I hadn't even thought about International Fight Week. I'm glad you had the insight on that. Look, Conor McGregor, for several years now, has been the UFC's cash cow. If nothing else, you can say what you will about his attitude, how he is as a fighter, or anything in between. If absolutely nothing else, I think it would be a fool's errand to try and not say that he can sell a fight. And he's done that for the UFC for the better part of 10, 15 years, however long it's been now. But I'm telling you that they're trying to milk that cash cow, but the teat's getting real chafed, man. It's getting real chafed and dry. So it's with Max Holloway. Sorry, go ahead, Danny.
Well, were the rest of you guys even surprised that he was fighting again? I mean, I think, I don't know, me and Rick, we weren't watching the Netflix fight together, but we were texting back and forth a lot. And then, coincidentally, they announced this, main card during the Netflix MVP. And I assumed Conor would never fight again. I thought that was just a long done thing, and he just wasn't even in question. And I don't know. It seems to me kind of even a short turnaround from the announcement and coming in. Usually something like this they milk for, 6 months or so. It seems like, but I'm kind of surprised that he was even. And I kind of assume like, okay, they're announcing it now, but I feel like something's going to happen where he's going to pull out of the fight. And I think a lot of people were even questioning if he'd show up. And now it's like, holy shit, we've done the weigh-ins, we're here, and this is actually happening. But I feel the same way that both of you are saying. I don't think there's any way he's going to fight. He'll fight, but he's not going to put up.
And I may, correct me if I misheard you, and Tyree, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say they announced that fight, or if not the actual fight itself, at least that he was coming back. Didn't they announce that, like, it seemed like kind of strategically, or maybe it was like kind of a subtle FU during the Netflix MMA thing with like the Rousey Carano?
So they announced it as right as Francis Ngannou was making his way down to the ring.
Okay.
And that storied beef between Francis Ngannou and Dana White, because he's technically still the lineal world heavyweight champion because he never got beat, and he left on a loophole with them.
Yeah, right.
And it was kind of like, well, I'm going to announce probably the biggest fight of the year while you're walking down to the ring. It's a great fuck you. I thought it was great. It's so petty. I like petty. So
and me and Rick's response was, does Conor know this is happening, or is this just kind of something they're announcing behind him? Is he finding out at the same time we all are? But I was gonna say, I thought John Jones had a better chance. Well, if we all put our hands in the same place at the same time. That's right. Where's my hand, Rick? Come here, buddy. But I thought John Jones had a better chance of coming back to the UFC than Conor McGregor, honestly. I just thought he was just so far beyond. He's making movies now. He's running around the world in a yacht. I just, even Dana White said, I think a couple of years ago, it's like, there's no way he's coming back. He's way too much money. It's just not the lifestyle for him anymore.
Right.
So, but here we are. So
yeah, and obviously, so I'll kind of go in chronological order as far as again, just kind of looking at this fight card. Tyrek, I know you have your own reasons, but actually really looking at that fight, Tracy Cortez versus, I believe her name is Kong Wang. That's actually a super interesting fight. Kong Wang, for those of you that don't know, was actually a very accomplished professional kickboxer before she got into MMA. And I could be wrong, but I want to say she actually beat, was it Shevchenko that she beat in a kickboxing fight? I'm not sure. I know it was a big name UFC fighter that she actually beat in a kickboxing match. And since she's gotten into the UFC, yes, primarily she's a striker, but she has made a very, very, very concerted effort to work on her takedown defense. And so I think for me, Tyrek, I know this is going to kind of break your heart, but Tracy Cortez, to me, watching her fights, I think that, how do I explain this in a way that's not going to make me sound like an idiot? I think that the UFC sees that she could potentially be a big name only because, for I think some of the reasons why you like her so much. So I think a lot of people kind of want her to be, the big name fighter because she's an attractive Latina chick, right? But she's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. Her calling card is obviously her grappling. She's very good on the ground. I mean, I feel like she has gotten a little bit more confident with her hands, but that's really not, kind of her primary thing that she's known for. Whereas Wang, whereas the ground isn't so much her thing, but she's got a hell of a stand-up game. So I'm curious, set your bias aside for, you thinking that she's hot or whatever, but I'm curious, like, do you know anything about this Kong Wang chick, or what do you think about that fight?
Honestly, I really don't know anything about this Wang, besides that my Wang is going to be out during this fight.
Love it. Yeah.
Demonetized.
Chris says he's loving the non-hype that this Conor McGregor fight is getting. It's fantastic. I agree. That was really the only other one that was kind of weird. So you have Gable Stevenson versus, I believe his name is Elisha Ellison, something like that. He's Ellison, as far as I know, is not a super seasoned UFC veteran, but he is on the UFC roster. Gable Stevenson, Tyrek, if I remember right, is this guy like a former WWE wrestler? So
he was contracted with the WWE, but he really didn't do anything, right? So Gable Stevenson is an Olympic wrestler. He's like, he's a gold medalist in the Olympics. He is also
Olympic champion. Yeah.
Olympic champion. He's also been signed with the NFL. I forget what team he was on.
The Buffalo Bills. Yep.
And then he was also with the WWE, but literally did nothing. And now he's here in the UFC. I think he also did boxing as well. I think he did a boxing match.
And I did look up, I did do a little bit of digging. He actually does have 3 MMA fights to his name. They weren't super big promotions or anything. They were just kind of schlock shows. In fact, I think one of them was a promotion that Anthony Pettis had owned, and had like kind of a smaller promotion of fights, but he went 3-0. What's crazy to me is, as far as I understand, this Ellison guy has had a few UFC fights. He hasn't been particularly successful, but you can call him the veteran between this matchup. But what stuck out to me about this is the betting line has Gable Stevenson as the clear, super freaking, like he's about to just dog walk this guy, like Brock Lesnar fighting a kid in a wheelchair. Like, it was something crazy, like
put a nickel
minus
on that
1,500 favorite against Ellison. So that one was kind of interesting to me. And then Robert Whittaker, I kind of had to put myself in check here a little bit, because I was thinking, like, damn, man, like, Robert Whittaker's still fighting, but then so is Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's
right.
I want to say late 30s, pushing 40 almost. So, but I know Robert Whittaker's getting there. I don't know anything about the guy that he's about to fight. But what I do know is I think that the co-main event, personally, is a lot more interesting than the main event, the fight between Benoit Saint Denis versus Paddy Pimblett. I think that stylistically, and I really think that there is actually, there is some, what's the word I'm looking for? There's some implications to this fight. Right, that's what I was looking for. There's some implications to the outcome of this fight. Both of them are obviously big name fighters. Excuse me. Paddy Pimblett had a pretty damn good fight against Justin Gaethje not all that long ago, and obviously Gaethje went on to beat Ilia Topuria at the White House card. Benoit Saint Denis has been on a pretty decent tear of his own, though. So I'm curious, Tyrek, what do you think about that fight, the co-main event?
I just hope, his name, Benoit, I hope he chokes Paddy out.
Okay, that's what you're rooting for. If you had to make a prediction, how do you see the fight playing out?
I think that it's a good matchup. As much as I am not a fan of Paddy Pimblett, but I respect the way that I respect his game, right?
Yeah.
I don't see a way that he loses this fight, as much as I would love to see Benoit win.
Right.
I think Benoit's got the odds right now.
I think you're right. I think he is a slight favorite.
Yeah.
What about you, Danny? How do you feel about the co-main?
Yeah, you're right. I think it does have probably more implications. I mean, I think everyone expects Holloway, to win the main event without too much of a fuss. Pimblett is coming off of his loss against Gaethje, and was a really good fight. I think maybe there's 1 or 2 rounds that he might have won, but the rounds he lost, he really lost. But I mean, it was just a fun fight, and I think in the UFC, there's a tendency for when fighters get that loss in the UFC, they just tend to start going downhill, or they have some mixed fights, and before they can really start making a comeback. I think Pimblett's maybe in a different situation. I think when you're losing to the guy who is the champion right now, I think that loss, kind of, and how well you did in that fight kind of ups your stakes a little bit. Like, I kind of think like college football sometimes, where you lose to a team maybe like early in the season, and that team goes on to be like undefeated. It's like, oh shit, that loss, actually, that's you might get a little more points for that, and I think that's going on with Pimblett. So I don't think he's going to be as down and out as most people who lose main events. They lose the trajectory to get to that chance to get a belt are in. So I think he's still definitely one of the big names that can come back and win a title. Not come back and win a title. I don't think he has never won one yet. But yeah. Right. So it'll be really interesting to see. I think every fight he has is always super entertaining, and I'm excited about that. Just kind of going through some of the fighters. What's his Lanier? What's his name? Kavanaugh. I like this guy. Just kind of, I'm honestly going through the fights for the first time earlier today, besides just the 2 main events. And he's an exciting fighter. I think he might have lost his last fight. I have to go back and look, but I remember watching him in I think his last 2 fights, and he was just freaking phenomenal to watch. So, just in terms of the rest of the main cards, I think that's the one I'm super excited about. So watch him come in, and I think it's going to be super entertaining.
Okay, I'm curious if you're watching right now and you are watching the UFC fights tomorrow, who do you have for the co-main event, Benoit Saint Denis or Paddy Pimblett? For me personally, I'm kind of with you, Tyreek. I think Paddy Pimblett is obnoxious. He's super obnoxious. That, and if nothing else, I can hardly understand. It's not every day that you see somebody who's speaking English, but you have to have good subtitles to understand what he's saying. But I think he's kind of obnoxious. But I'm with you. I respect his game 100%, and I think that on the ground, it's a fairly. I think it's fairly even. I know Saint Denis really not all that great off of his back, so I think if Paddy can get on top of him, I think he'll definitely have an advantage. But otherwise, I think it's a pretty even fight on the ground. I think on the feet, Paddy has proven that he has a damn chin, a la his fight with Justin Gaethje. Although he ended up losing that fight, he has a hell of a chin. Paddy can take a hit. And I just don't know that Benoit can say the same. I think between the 2 fighters, Benoit he's probably the stronger, just from brute strength. And he has more raw strength than Paddy, probably. His frame's a little bit bigger. He's a bigger, more powerful fighter. But I think that either way, I have Paddy Pimblett winning this. I'm kind of rooting for Saint Denis. I just think that Paddy's going to be able to weather a storm a little bit more than Benoit Saint Denis is. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Let us know in the comments section. Looks like we have a comment here. Chris says, joke that isn't being flooded into the algorithm. What are you talking about there, Chris? Let us know. And moving on to the main event, fellas. Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway. Who you got?
I'm just gonna quote my one of my favorite fighters right now, Dustin Poirier. And this is for McGregor. It's going to be a bad day, my guy.
Enough said, Danny.
Nate Diaz. And nobody knows what you're talking about. Nobody knows what a gazelle is.
Yeah.
Hey,
Danny, what you got?
It's Holloway. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone's taken Connor.
I don't either.
Listen, it would be. I mean, I'm rooting for Holloway. I'm hoping it's an entertaining fight. However, if Connor does win, that would be super entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just be like, holy shit, I don't know what's going on anymore. Which I usually don't anyway, but I don't know. It would be definitely, it would mess everything up, I think, in the UFC world. Because who says he's going to fight again after this? You know, the fact that he's coming in for this one is kind of a shocker to everyone else. So, I don't know. So, I'm pretty excited about it no matter what. I know it's a little bit similar to most of the fights in the Netflix card. I mean, this main card is. But, I hope it goes past the second round. I hope it's not a decision where they're just, patting gloves for 5 rounds too. So I hope it's entertaining. I hope it gets finished, like the third or fourth round. And I hope they just go bananas and just try and beat the shit out of each other. But I don't know it's going to be that way, guys.
That's actually, not to backtrack a little bit, but I'm curious what you guys think with the co-main event between St. Denis and Paddy Pimblett. Depending on who wins that fight, what happens next? Should they immediately get a shot at Gaethje, or should, say, if Paddy wins, does he immediately get another crack at Gaethje, or should he? Is this like a potential? I know he's going to be out for a hot little minute, but is that a potential Ilia Topuria fight, depending on who wins this?
Ooh, I like that. I think that makes more sense for a Topuria. I think it's a little too soon for either of those guys to get a title shot, in my opinion. Maybe not because he did fight Gaethje. I don't know. I think Topuria makes a lot more sense for one of those guys to go in, and then the winner of that maybe gets to go with Gaethje again.
Yeah, or go ahead, Tyrek.
I don't think Gaethje's gonna fight again. To be honest,
you think he's out?
I think he's out. Especially, I don't think he's going to. Because he's not gonna. He said he doesn't want to give a straight rematch to Topuria anyway, right? But I personally don't. I go out you beat the guy that's been beating everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're the guy, but you're really not the guy. You know what I mean? You've taken a lot more big L's recently than wins. You figured him out, right?
Right.
You talking about Gaethje?
Gaethje. And I just don't. I personally don't see him fighting again.
Kind of get out while he's ahead.
But it would be entertaining if they do this and Paddy wins and they do Paddy versus Topuria.
Or Chris made a interesting. He said Arman versus the winner of this fight.
That's good. That's good.
That is a hell of a fight. That's a hell of a fight too.
I really like this comment too.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Adam says,
No,
come on. Irish beat down.
Funny for the trash talk.
You know what's funny? Is,
nobody knows what they're saying.
You know what's funny is Paddy actually did say if he wins this fight, he would love to fight Connor. And I'm sure he would, because again, Connor represents a big payday for whoever he's fighting. Forget what the quality of the fight is, or whatever, but he represents a big payday. And Paddy is kind of in that same vein of super obnoxious, but because of the fact that he's obnoxious can sell a fight. That would be a massive, massive, money grabbing thing for the UFC.
The fight has to be in Ireland too, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, I don't think Paddy is Paddy. Is he Irish or is he like British?
Like a weird English.
England. Yeah.
Oh well.
Okay.
He's Irish to me.
Yeah. White dudes with funny accents.
Right.
Used to no more pay-per-view. Well, yeah, sorry. Chris is right. Because it's not on pay-per-view anymore, it's all on Paramount. But same. You get they're going to get numbers, they're going to get eyeballs simply because of all of the trash talk and whatnot. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think either Arman or Ilia Topuria would be a fine opponent for whoever ends up winning the co-main event. For the main event, we kind of already talked about it. I'm not going to sit here and continue to beat a dead horse. Look, Conor hasn't fought in 5 years. The last time he did, he got his leg snapped. He hasn't won a fight since 2020. He's lost, I think, like 3 out of his last 4 fights. So, I mean, it's just his mouth. And the UFC's cash cow, the teat is getting a little bit chafed up and dry. So I've got, I think, and this, I'll save, what, of course, I think Max Holloway's going to win. By which method? And then Chris says, Arman will beat the winner, but he needs the shot 100%. You're saying Arman needs the title shot, Chris? I agree with you. But this kind of ties into, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I think unless you guys got anything else, and this will still kind of tie into UFC stuff, but this will also kind of go hand in hand with our weekly sports betting, unless there's anything you want to talk about before we roll into that.
I say let's roll into it.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
It's time to step into the virtual casino where the odds are cooked, the confidence is reckless, and wallets are sweating bullets. It's time for the Rad Sports Show weekly sports bets.
Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, Danny and I last week both ended up in the negative. I technically won.
Yeah, you did. But
this
fucking
is like
Belgium.
This is like the 4th week in a row, which is crazy because when we first started doing this, I was like constantly, like, every single one of my bets hit every single week. Like, and I think there was like 1 week where, like, okay, I had one bet that didn't hit, but for like 3 or 4 weeks straight, I've been in the shitter, man. But yeah, obviously you can see we lost money last week. As far as, for those of you that don't know, and if you're kind of new to the show here, what Danny and I do, Tyrek is new to the show here, but what we do is we'll take $5 and do sports gambling with it. You can do that, split that up however you want. You can make $1 bet, or 5 $1 bets, one $5 bet, or however you decide to do it. And we're not really looking to make any serious money. It's just a way for us to, kind of have some skin in the game, especially during this time of year when there's not a whole lot going on with sports. And so we do this, kind of this means of us being able to kind of shit talk each other every week. Moving on to our weekly bets here, and this kind of ties into our UFC discussion. So my picks for this week, you can kind of see them there on the screen. If you're listening on Spotify, we do stream shows every week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And then, oh, by the way, we have a Spotify. So if you're enjoying the show, please consider going and checking us out there. But for my picks this week, my first pick was actually that Holloway. I felt like it was kind of low-hanging fruit just to take, Holloway's going to win. And so I took a specific method. I have Holloway winning by round 2 via TKO, knockout, or DQ. It was an option that was already lumped in there. But I think he finishes Conor in the second round. I think that Conor, for him, his best chance to win this fight is going to be to come running like a bat out of hell in the first round.
I'm not going to lie. I think that is a great pick. I'm surprised the odds are that far out, but I think that is, like, out of all of our bets, I think that one is, like, the best for its money, like, without question. I just see this happening where Holloway just beats the shit out of Conor in the first round. He looks terrible. He barely gets into the second round, and then he just, finishes him off like the first 30 seconds of round 2.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Conor's best chance to win this fight, if he has a snowball's chance in hell, is if he just comes, running like a bull in a china shop the very first round and just throws absolutely everything he can. I mean, and to be fair, Conor has hands. It's not like he can't fight, but again, he's getting close to 40 years old. He hasn't fought in 5 years. The last time he did, his leg snapped, right? So I think that he will probably come out super heavy to begin the first round. And even in his prime, if you will, Conor McGregor was never really known for being a guy with super great conditioning. Right, I think the only person he out-conditioned was Chad Mendez back in the day. And even that was pretty surprising because usually Chad Mendez has pretty decent cardio. But for whatever reason, Connor's cardio was better than Chad Mendez during that fight. But I think Conor McGregor will come out like a bat out of hell in round 1, punch himself out, and Holloway gets the knockout or TKO in round 2. That's just me. And then
I think
we alluded to this, and I didn't realize you had the same bet as well. But then we both took the straight up money line.
Yeah, it happens.
Paddy Pimblett over Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should go back. The Holloway bet, I bet $2 on that. If I win that bet, it'll pay me out $12. It's a plus 500 odds. And then for Danny and both of our bets, $2 with plus 124 odds on Paddy Pimblett, just the straight money line over Benoit Saint Denis. That $2 turns into $4.48. And then I've got a $1 bet on Switzerland over Argentina, plus 350 odds will pay me out $4.50.
I think that's the worst bet. It's only $1, but I mean, like I've just other ones are like the one at the plus 500 odds. I think is a so much better chance of happening to me than this Switzerland over Argentina.
Well, I saw that because I was going to take you had like two of the same bets. You had the Paddy Pimblett bet, and I didn't want to get rid of that one, but I saw you had picked Norway as well. So I had to make one that was different. But Tyrek, I saw you kind of nodding your head over here. Looks like you had some thoughts or kind of were kind of lockstep with me about the Max Holloway thing. What do you got?
Oh yeah, Conor McGregor is usually great in the first round, but if you take him out of the first round, he's not it. His power dwindles, and he's just not it. I mean, he might, you never know. He might throw his power shoulder like he did to what's his
Cowboy?
name? Cowboy. But hey, man,
if you had to call that fight, like what round, what method would you call that fight?
I would say ref stoppage, round 3.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
Okay.
So TKO by round 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I legit might on my personal bet go and do the same round 2 KO bet. Like I think most of these things you'll look at where you're picking over unders and stuff. I think Las Vegas just has us so dialed down. I think most people are fooling themselves when they say that they know better than Vegas on a lot of these things. Most of the time it's really just a 50-50 when they pick the over and under on that. I feel like that pick is I think one of the best money for the odds that I've seen doing this segment with you, Rick. I don't know. I feel like I see the future, and I feel like that's what's going to happen. So good on you. I wish I picked it first. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then we'll come over here to Danny's bets real quick. Danny, I'll let you take it away here.
Sure. So, did I do? I did do Max Holloway on there. I thought I wasn't going to bet on there. I think I was originally going to do just put $5 on Max Holloway, and then I think the whole total would have been like $250 for the $5 or something. I was like, dude, I can't win with just $2 profit, so I got to move some things around. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to put $2 straight up on there, and that only gives me a really and logically an 88 cents profit on all that. Paddy Pimblett, I actually think that he's we were just talking about how we kind of look at him as what would you call it, the overdog or whatever, but they had him as the underdog in this one. So I was like, oh, you know what? I like that. So I'll go ahead and take that. And the next one is Norway over England, also the underdog. I think that was a little closer to a pick'em, and I don't know. That's all the games that were left. I thought that one would look like the closest and maybe kind of more interesting one out of the two. So, or out of the 4 games I think that are going on right now. So, I just all right, I got $1 left. I'll put it on soccer. Why not?
Fair enough. Yeah, all very interesting bets here, and then obviously by the end of the week, and we'll give you an update next week like we always do. But our possible total payouts. This is not profit, but just straight up payouts here. Assuming that Danny and I get a clean sweep on every single one of our bets, My payout would be twice as much as his and then some. Danny would basically double his $5 for the week and get $10.11. Yeah. And I would go up $20.98. So we'll keep you updated as far as the weekly sports bets goes. That's right. Make it rain, Tyreek. Make it rain.
I'll be getting nickels.
But no, we want to listen. We want to thank Tyrek for coming on to the show today to talk some UFC fights with us. Tyrek, are there any UFC rumblings, like anything you're potentially looking out for, like potential matchups or events or anything like that we should kind of be paying attention to or looking forward to?
Not UFC.
Okay.
But WWE SummerSlam is coming up August 1st, August 2nd.
You would love our friend Keith. We got to get him on the show. He is a big wrestling guy.
Man,
well, that's not really true. He's lost a lot of weight. He's kind of a medium Russell guy now.
Well played. Okay, so you said SummerSlam. Are there any matchups in particular you're looking forward to for that?
Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight title, and Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi in Hell in a Cell. And it's Brock Lesnar fighting in his hometown of Minneapolis.
Brock Lesnar.
Potentially his last match.
Yeah, I was about to say he's starting to get a little long in the tooth as well. You know, a lot of the old guard there, his era of wrestler, they're all slowly starting to trickle out, man.
I remember his first match. Well, it wasn't his first match. It's when he first was just showing up on. I think it was still WWF back then. But dude, he was just insane. Like basically, he'd come up and there'd be near the end of the fight, and he'd just show up and and just start tearing everyone apart. Oh my god, who is this guy? And dude, yeah, from the beginning, it's this guy is a freak. And then eventually he started, getting his character in and actually having real matches, and it was dude, this guy is bananas.
Yeah, steroids will do that to you.
Steroids
will do that to you. Yeah, 100%. No, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for SummerSlam. Maybe we can get, if you're willing to come back, we'll get our buddy Keith here on the show, and we'll talk some SummerSlam here on the show before that happens. Kind of get an overview of the matches and everything. But yeah, that is going to do it for our UFC talk, man. We are about to roll into some other sports here. Tyrek, you are obviously welcome to stay if you'd like. I know you've kind of got some other stuff going on. You're welcome to stay as long as you want, man. If not, either way, appreciate you joining us tonight.
I appreciate you guys having me. I'd love to come back.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, brother. Well, if you don't have anything else, we are going to, unless you have anything for UFC, I think we can kind of roll into soccer here.
Sure.
All right. Later, guys.
Bye, Tyreek.
Look at that hand. Who knows where that thing's
look at
been?
that hand. Who knows where that thing has been? Who knows where Tyreek's hand has been? He's still trying to get himself out there, but I appreciate Tyrek joining us on the show tonight. That was a lot of fun. It's always good. An open invite to anybody out there.
You just put a lens cap back on?
Pretty much. Listen, open invite to anybody out there that wants to join the show. We're by no means, this is kind of an open forum for everybody. So I kind of invited one of my old buddies here, but if you ever want to get on and whatnot, let us know. In fact, even here tonight, if you feel like hopping on the show, I'll drop a link to the virtual studio here. In fact, I'll go ahead and do that right now.
Do it, cowards.
Yeah, 100%. Here, let me get the link here. But if y'all feel like you want to hop on the show, 100%, you are welcome to hop on here. But with that being said, unless you got anything for the UFC or anything else, I think I am just about ready to jump into some soccer, my friend.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's do it.
32 teams from around the globe entered with dreams of glory, but only one gets to lift one of the world's most coveted sports trophies. From dramatic finishes, questionable officiating, and enough theatrical flopping to earn an Oscar, let's talk the World Cup.
And so the United States, after we had an amazing sports weekend for America. We had our fantasy football mock draft where we celebrated America. 4th of July happened. The first American woman to row from California to Hawaii happened. And then the U.S. soccer team, womp womp. They get eliminated from the World Cup. They get embarrassed in like one of the few games that I've actually watched and like legitimately paid attention to. They get embarrassed in Seattle by Belgium.
Yeah,
it was tough to watch, man. It really, and it looked like Belgium pretty much outclassed them. In I don't know the terms of soccer. I'm not a big soccer guy. I know Danny's starting to get into it, but it looked like. Well,
don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, no, but it looked like Belgium just completely outclassed them. Just completely outclassed the U.S., which it seems like, the U.S. in terms of the World Cup, we're always a bridesmaid, never the bride, and so here we are once again with the U.S. Do you have any thoughts on that game or anything?
That was like the first. I think I don't know if the U.S. has ever made that far. I know it's been a long time if they haven't. But boy, that game was just ugly from beginning to end. I thought like kind of after the U.S. made that first score, it's like, okay, here we go. It's a 1-1 tie game. This is the U.S. is finally getting it, and then that tie lasted 61 seconds, and then Belgium came back and like, oh, okay, we're good. But I think the worst goal was you said you watched the game, but it was just such a bananas. Like, what are you? And so many of the goals really were just the U.S. just looking so bad. Their goalie going just so far out of the box when they had one of their like offensive players like right there, and it just like, dude, what are you doing? So he couldn't use his hands to block the ball when they made a kick. And there's another guy behind him. And he tried to deflect it a little bit, but didn't. I can't use my hands either because I'm not a goalie. Dude, that just looked so awful. And then the next one after that, when they went up to like the fourth goal, was just like, okay, yeah, this is just more of the same thing. Yeah, dude, I don't know how much to say about that. It's just soccer is a weird sport. I'm still don't understand it. There's a lot of things that are just like something that just kind of irritates. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in soccer that just irritates me. We talk about this all the time, but so many of there's not very many goals in soccer, but so many of the goals come from penalties, and it seems like a lot of times there's just guys like running around until you can get a penalty called on you, and then when you get that penalty shot is when all the scoring has happened. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of that almost like maybe comparable to like a power play in hockey. So maybe that's sort of the same thing, but I don't know, man. That just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Or somebody accidentally kicks a guy's ankle instead of the ball, then all of a sudden you get a chance. And I think goals are so much bigger in soccer than hockey. A lot of people think they're kind of comparable. They're not. I mean, there's so much more.
No.
I feel like it's almost like twice as much scoring in hockey than there is soccer. Maybe I'm wrong. But it kind of irks me a little bit watching this sport where so much of the win or losses come from just these incidental, overkick the ball a little bit and, now this guy has a chance, like, will most likely score on this.
Right. Let us know what you think with the U.S. eliminated now. I know they were never a super heavy favorite to begin with, but let us know in the comment section here in the live chat, regardless of where you're watching, whether that be from Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. What do you think? With the U.S. eliminated, what team or teams do you think have the best chance of winning it all this year? Let us know in the comment section. Yeah, you're 100% right. It's frustrating. I only kind of just started getting into it this summer with you, and we'll talk a little bit more about this next week. But I wonder, and I don't want to be ignorant and say that there are no soccer fans in the U.S., but I almost wonder if there are things that they could do. I understand soccer is this massive, like global sport that is beloved. I'm not trying to take away from that, but I'm wondering if there are things that we can do to make it where more people from the U.S., like you and I, where we're hardcore, baseball, football, hockey, like that type of crowd. Like, what are some things that we could do to make the game more interesting? Obviously, we'll only, kind of dip our toes in the water with that tonight. Adam says he sees España. He has Spain over winning the whole thing this year. So that should be interesting.
It's one of those things where I kind of feel like we're just like the odd ducks out. We're just the pure American sports guys, because soccer, like, if I understand that right, I believe soccer is the fastest growing sport in America, and you see how some of these purposely built MS or MLS stadiums are popping up all over the country. And they're not like multi-use like Lumen Field, where that's, the Seahawks play that, but also the Sounders play that. These are actually specific stadiums built for like this team that hold 20 to 30,000 people. I think some even 40,000 people. So, and you compare that to the Athletics new stadium in Las Vegas is it's only 30,000 people. So you get an idea of how big the sport is. But man, just as someone who's like an American ignoramus, just this whole thing with the clock is just bananas to me.
That whole thing, there's no, and I want to say at one point, so one of our chief complaints is that instead of when there's like a penalty or a injury, or whatever the case may be, they don't stop the clock, but rather they add extra time or whatever at the end of regulation, but they don't have a system of like keeping that time. Like,
and I thought they did. I thought they did. And they don't really.
Well, so they did at one point, and I don't remember the specifics of it, but I watched a video earlier this week of somebody explaining it. They had I don't know what, because there's up to dozen different soccer leagues out there.
Right.
But whatever league or leagues it was for had some type of means of being able to track, hey, where there was, this guy was down for, whatever it was, a minute and 42 seconds, and then they would kind of keep that and have like a running counter. Like the game clock would still keep going, but they had like a separate clock to.
I think it was in Dubai.
Maybe. But apparently they pissed some people off with that, and then they kind of gave it back to the ref's discretion to be like, meh, I think, we'll add another 2 minutes and 15 seconds, or whatever the case may be.
Because they were just way off. Like, they're still like, okay, they're going to say, okay, we're at another 6 minutes. And it's like, no, it should have been 14 minutes or something stupid like that. And so because I looked it up and just ChatGPT and like, oh, no, it's a very, scientific, like a very, hard process. There is a ref. He's got to, it's his job to stop the clock and everything. And then, I don't know, we looked into it further and it's like, no, that's not true. It's just discretionary. And then even when they, because then they have extra time after that, because when we go into like, you get 6 minutes of extra time, and there's people getting hurt and stoppages there, and then so it goes a little extra. So the refs will just enough time goes by, the drive's over, or whatever. It's like yeah, that's a good time to stop the game. And it's just one of those things where it's hard to. Say like being baseball fans, there's a lot of stuff that we like. They changed some things, especially like about 2 years ago. Like they had the right now they got the the pitch clock, and now they have the strike zone radar that we can kind of look up. And you remember like how many people were just, even myself, I didn't like bringing the robot refs in there, and just adverse to that. And soccer's been around for so long, so I feel like there's probably just billions of people around the world who've been watching soccer for so long. Hey, dude, don't change the thing. Keep that guy on the sidelines with his little sign that says like, okay, number 6 is coming out for 16. And it's like, dude, there is a billboard up there that's about 1.3 billion times the size of that little sign that you're using. You can just put it up there and say, yeah, number 16 is coming. You can even put his name on there. It doesn't just have to be the number. Some of us don't know who 16 is. Like, oh, that's, Esperanzo. Oh, okay, yeah. So we can say, and then you can be put little stuff like, hey, look at all the, assists that he had and how many, ball kicks stats he has or something. I don't know. But it's just weird stuff that's just so old-fashioned in soccer. Like you and me coming into this, watching this as, America is, I'm not trying to toot our own horn or anything, but I feel like America is such a sports heavy country. Like we have sports year round. We don't just do one sport. It's like we have so many sports that have just huge stadiums, and we kind of have a style of what we're used to expect with sports, and it's just so weird the inefficiency this has, and it's like billions and billions of dollars more than the NFL, and they can't keep time. That's just not a thing they do.
Yeah, 100%. Shannon tuned in and said, for soccer, allow hockey fighting rules, guaranteed to boost viewership in the U.S. That's something that we had kind of joked about as well, and a lot of it kind of goes back to past episodes with just sports in general about the whole embellishing thing. Like a guy's shoestring gets sneezed on at the wrong angle, and all of a sudden he's on the ground.
I've been shot! Yeah.
Right. But I'll tell you what, if ever there was a hockey player and a soccer player that were to get into a fight, like forget $5, I would empty my pension to bet on the hockey player.
Right.
100 times out of 10. Bet on a hockey player.
I think I've only watched like one like professional, or it was professional, but it was like I think it was the Women's World Cup. And maybe I'm not remembering it like all the way, and I didn't have a big enough sample size, but I felt like, again, reiterating, it was a very small sample size, that the women's soccer team did way less. They might, I think, maybe flopping, but not pretending to cry. Right. And I think that maybe comes with the fact that, hey, we're girls. We can't have people, thinking that we're just, we're sissies and everything. And
right.
I don't know. I think there's just something to be said about that.
We can't play the same sports that guys play and be good at it or be tough enough or whatever.
We got to keep playing with a bloody nose and,
right.
We got to march on. So I don't know. That's something to kind of think of, because we're talking a little bit about the WNBA earlier, and just like, it's like there's lots of flopping in the NBA too, but no one's pretending like their hurt is that bad. But it's like, dang, these girls are actually like pretty tough. It's getting exciting to watch. And
right. Yeah.
Because I don't think it's next year. I think it's every two, I think they alternate like the Summer and Winter Olympics. I'd be really curious, because I know America's won the Women's Olympics, or not Olympics, the Women's World Cup. I think a couple times in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong. But I would be, now that I feel like a little more soccer savvy, I'd be interested to watch that and see if it's more entertaining.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. And just there's a myriad of things. And again, I don't want to ruin it too much. We'll kind of go more into it next week. But just so many things about that sport that don't make sense. And I have a lot of friends, and I know I'm kind of late to it now, because I'm really going to be kind of digging into it more now that the U.S. is already eliminated, and we're down to, I think, like the round of 16 in the World Cup, so maybe a little bit too little, too late, but there's just a lot about that sport that doesn't make sense, and try as I may to, get into it and just really be interested in it. There's so much that just doesn't make sense, but then I have to kind of put myself in check and realize, I like watching hockey. I really, really enjoy watching hockey. And there's probably people that watch hockey on TV that don't understand, like what icing is, or how is that offsides, and things like that. Yeah. So it's probably, honestly, this, people probably feel the same way, but it did kind of resonate with me when you had hit on, there are so many people who've been watching soccer for eons, that are kind of soccer or football purists, that don't want things changed. But it's like, at the same time, look, baseball is an incredibly old sport as well. But in the modern age that we live in, we still found a way to maintain the integrity of the game. And if anything, improve the integrity of the game, the pace of play, and not waste people's time. Like, actually improve the game with modern technology. I don't think it is without reason that we can't do the same for soccer, one of the oldest sports in human history as well.
Right. Something they're talking about a little bit, something, well, kind of going into a little more what you're talking about, some of the changes. I'm hearing little rumblings about them maybe continuing to do hydration breaks, because that was one of the things that they actually changed for this year for the World Cup. because in America, it's a lot hotter. I know they want to get some ads in and all that, but because they're just what they were saying is that the level of play has been so much higher this year than the last couple of years because they're getting a water break. Instead of going like 45 minutes, nonstop, right, going back and forth. It turns out like you stop halfway through the half, get some liquid in these guys, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, they're like, this is they're playing way harder at the end of this half than in years past. So I'd be curious if that's something that they keep moving forward in the seasons to come.
Absolutely. No, it would definitely be something for sure. I'm sure hydration with any athlete is always going to be important. I mean, you look at any of the big team sports that we like watching. Yeah. When the offense isn't out on the field, they're able to kind of pop a squat. They're on the bench and get their water and whatnot, or even fighters, whether boxing, kickboxing, MMA, in between rounds, they get a water break. So it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense for sure.
Yeah, you think of football, like how, it's like when the offense, like just marches down the field, a long drive to make a touchdown, and then the next team or the next offense goes 3 and out. That's just so detrimental to that defense who just was on the field for like 20 minutes straight. Right. To have to go back in there and do that. So yeah, give them guys some water.
100%. Yeah. And I've never questioned, even though I've never been a huge soccer fan, I've never questioned that soccer is an incredibly athletic sport. There's so much running up and down and up and down, and and depending on what part of the world you're playing in, I'm sure that sun just has to be beating down on these guys. And mind you, they're not wearing the big like protective like pads and stuff, like some of these other guys are, but even so, like just running back and forth like that, for 90 minutes straight or whatever it is, that's got to be, I'm sure that's got to be tiring. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. But we'll definitely get more into some ways that we think can make soccer maybe even more appealing to the generic American sports fans like ourselves next week. That's pretty much all I have for soccer, unless you have anything else.
No, that's it, man.
All right. Well, speaking of football, let's get into the American variety.
The NFL schedule is ugly, the rivalries are personal, and the takes are legally questionable. Let's get divisional.
It is the first of our 8 NFL divisional breakdowns, starting with the AFC East. We really have no rhyme or reason as to why we're starting this division. I literally, Danny, you can confirm this.
Yeah, I was just
don't deny it.
I was just like, hey, it's AFC. It's I guess it's on this side of the country. So let's just start that way, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we were like, literally no reason, just AFC East. Okay, cool. So we're going to break down the AFC East and kind of go over what we think about this division, how we think it's going to end up falling out, along with some potential fantasy assets here. As you can see on your screen, AFC East last year, the New England Patriots finished 14-3, won the AFC Championship, and lost in the Super Bowl to our Seattle Seahawks, which was awesome. Kind of stopped that Patriots dynasty from resurrecting, ended up righting a wrong from the Super Bowl many years ago when we should have given the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the 1-yard line. And ironically enough, it was our running back that kind of won the game carried the game for us.
The spirits have been released now that
absolutely
the ghosts are gone. The sage has been burnt and cleansed.
The Buffalo Bills, 12-5, made the playoffs but lost in the AFC divisional round to the Denver Broncos, who lost to the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship. Finishing third was the Miami Dolphins, 7-10, missed the playoffs, and at the bottom of the barrel there is the New York Jets. As far as our predictions go and we can kind of get into each team, like kind of some things that what we think will be some things to watch out for each team here. But Danny and I are actually lockstep on how we see the division falling out here. You can see on our screen our predictions for how the division is going to fall out. We both have it going Patriots, Bills, Jets, and then Dolphins there at the very bottom. I know I've got my reasons, and I'm sure yours are probably somewhere, but let me know what you think. Like, I guess kind of two-part question here. I guess the first thing we'll start with is, do you not see a path? I know Buffalo has kind of been another one of these always the bridesmaid but never the bride type of situations where they're supposed to be, the hot team. Josh Allen is, the whole he's the hot chick at the dance club, right? He's supposed to be like hot shit. Why do you see any path for Buffalo to win the division over New England, or do you think they keep a stronghold on that division?
I honestly, we talked a little bit earlier about teams that everyone assumes is good and they're going to fall that no one sees it, and the teams that are like really bad and that end up being really good, like the Patriots last year, were just dog shit. No one, I think, saw them being, going to the Super Bowl. The Bills are the team, even though I have them as second in the division, I think they are going to have a handful just to make the playoffs. I think the whole locker room seemed a little perplexed about losing their head coach. And I think there's some questions about the new coach that's in there coming in. I know Josh Allen is probably going to have some issues with finding someone to pass the ball to. I know he's got a running back who catches the ball. I know Kincaid, is a decent, he's a different receiver. But your wide receivers are in the name, receivers, and they don't got much there. So, it seems sacrilegious to say that there's Josh Allen doesn't, make the playoffs. But we would have said the same thing about Patrick Mahomes last year when the season started. There's no way they don't make the playoffs. I kind of think they're going to struggle a little bit. So even though I have them going second in the division, but that's just because the Jets and the Dolphins are notoriously dog shit. But the Dolphins are legit trying to be dog shit. So the Dolphins aren't going to be anything. The Jets just do the Jets thing. There's no hope for them there. So I think by default the Bills end up taking second place in that division, but I think they're going to struggle. I mean, you can't put anything past Josh Allen. This might just be something that we look back and Dan was just saying some stupid stuff, and that's fine. But I say keep a close eye on the Bills. I think we're potentially going to have a recipe for a surprise.
Yeah. I'm pretty lockstep with pretty much everything you said there. Adam says Josh Allen is the tease at the club. A lot of excitement with no finish.
Damn.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. No, but I agree with you for pretty much most of what you said. I think for New England, there was a lot of folks last year, and I'm the biggest. I'm sure most of us are kind of have some residual New England Patriots hater in us, right? We sipped a little bit of that haterade because we were so sick and tired for the longest time of watching Tom Brady win Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. They're in New England. And I think last year some of that maybe subconsciously we saw kind of it happening again, but the Patriots last year had a pretty soft schedule. So a lot of people were, can they actually win like the big games? And they had a back and forth with the Buffalo Bills, but to their credit now, and even in the playoffs, they ended up playing Denver. A Bo Nixless Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship. In a snowstorm, and really didn't impress. The whole game was in a snowstorm. I want to say like the second half, they got snowed on pretty bad. But there was a lot of people that had, kind of maybe cast some shadows of doubt on the Patriots. But really, I don't think that, look, the old adage goes, you can only play like the teams that are on your schedule. And it's not like the Patriots didn't handle business against those teams. I like Drake May a lot. One of my friends, Maria from work, says, first time watcher. You guys are doing an amazing thing here. Looking forward to next week. Thanks for tuning in, Maria.
Hey.
But no, I think that for the Patriots, I like Drake May a lot. It seems like, and Mike Vrabel was an absolute slam dunk of a head coach hire up there. Although we'll see what happens with him with the whole Diana Rossini thing.
Is that still a thing?
I have no idea. I just thought about that. But now they've got A.J. Brown there, who kind of becomes the incumbent role that Stephon Diggs had filled this past year. But he's got him and Mike Vrabel are reunited from their Tennessee days. Right. I like the kind of 1-2 punch that they have at running back between TreVeyon Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. And the Patriots have, for the most part, like really for the better part of my life, the Patriots have always had a pretty respectable, if not stout, defense.
Yeah, they got a pretty good defense this year.
We'll see what happens with the Bills. I know Sean McDermott's out the door. They've got a brand new shiny stadium, but I'll tell you what, looking at the Bills' schedule, they've got a pretty freaking tough opening schedule. They play against the Texans, which I know, say what you will about C.J. Stroud, but that Texans defense in Houston, week 1, followed by the Lions, the Chargers, the Bills, the Rams. So, like, pretty much right out the gate, that first month and a half, like, that's going to be a very, very interesting opening schedule for them. And then as far as the Jets and the Dolphins go, look, with the Dolphins, they are basically kind of rolling out with a cast of nobodies. I mean, you have Malik Willis there, who he did definitely show flashes in Green Bay when he was asked to come in relief of Jordan Love, but he's still, kind of an unproven commodity. And even then, even when he was in Green Bay, at least they had some semblance of a supporting cast. I mean, in Miami, your potential number 1 wide receiver is Jalen Tolbert from the Dallas Cowboys, right? And well, really, realistically, I mean, let's be honest. Your number 1 wide receiver is Devon Achane. Let's be honest about it. Yeah. With the Jets, I think, say what you will about Geno Smith, he's probably the best quarterback that they've had in a while. I know Aaron Rodgers played there, or Aaron Rodgers' corpse played there. And I know that Geno was absolutely god-awful in Las Vegas, but I'm not also that quick to forget what he did when he still played in Seattle. Yeah. So I think they have a stout enough defense in New York, and Geno, he's certainly not going to be a world breaker for them, but I think he can play the quarterback position competently enough that they can edge out the Dolphins for that the number 3 spot there in the division.
Yeah, I feel like the Dolphins and maybe Arizona are kind of jiving for the number 1 pick right now. I feel like they're kind of in a situation like, remember it was probably like 3 years ago when the Texans hired Lovie Smith, and just, to basically try and, get no wins, and then he ended up getting that 1 win at the end just as an FU sort of thing. I think that's the situation
after.
Yeah. I think I still love Lovie Smith. It's in the name.
I do too.
But I feel like that's what's everyone knows that's what's going on with the Dolphins. Arizona might be a little more trying to win because they just had a high pick, but I don't know, because they did get a quarterback, and he's between him and Brissett, they might try to get a few more wins. But I think everyone's just assuming it's Dolphins and Arizona. I actually think Dolphins will probably finish below Arizona.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess with that we can kind of roll into, and you're welcome to add to this list as well. This is kind of a list that I put together of potential fantasy football targets from each team. With the Patriots, we kind of hit on it already. I mean, obviously, Drake May, in my opinion, solid QB1, regardless of what format you play in, with top 5 upside. He does have a little bit of a rushing baseline. I don't remember the exact number, but just kind of thumbing through and doing a little bit of research, he had like a rushing baseline of like close to 30 yards rushing a game, and that's good for the quarterback position. So I think if he can make things click with A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown can not be a diva, and he can continue getting at least a little bit of work on the ground with his feet, then I think that Drake May is, at worst, a solid QB1, at best, easily top 5 upside.
I was going to say, Brandon Ayuk is making A.J. Brown look fantastic right now.
Yeah, that's true.
it's like, why do...
Yeah.
Hey, out of curiosity, when we're talking fantasy football with these guys, would you take Malik Willis over Geno Smith?
Yeah, I think I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. Because I really
an unknown quantity that's kind of makes you like, oh, okay, let's.
I think it's
roll.
not that Geno can't move, but I think at least with Malik Willis, there is some real sleeper upside with his legs. He has wheels on him. Geno, he can. I mean, he did pirouette a little bit there when he was in Seattle, but let's be honest. I mean, I think that it really there is. I can guarantee you, I will own Geno Smith in exactly 0 leagues this year.
Right.
Whereas Malik Willis, I might take a shot as long as he's falling late enough. I might take a shot on him on a draft or two here or there, simply because there is that rushing upside.
But man, just the mock draft that we did, you're seeing Matt Stafford go in the 11th round. It's like, oh my God,
that's bananas.
Yeah, and
that's bananas.
Yeah, and it looks. I mean, that's just where his ADP is. I mean, it wasn't one of those things where everyone ignored him for 3 rounds. That's just. I didn't realize that's where his ADP is. And I was just listening on some of my fantasy football podcasts on the radio yesterday, and they were talking about Matt Stafford. You can get him in the 11th round or whatever. It's just like, dude, I don't understand why this is happening.
That's nuts.
It makes no sense to me. But
other than the fact that he's old,
dude, I would take him in maybe the 8th round or 9th round, maybe just to I mean, that's not a crazy reach. Just snag him early. Dude, I'm just gonna take him before anyone else realizes, before his name starts going up on the board as the players disappear, and someone's like, "Holy shit, is that Matt Stafford?" and takes him. Just be like, wait till the 9th round and be like, "Think you guys didn't know he's still around."
And I mean, obviously, if he's getting all the way down at the 11th, then by then you probably have some pretty good depth pieces built up. But
might already have a quarterback,
with any build, it kind of depends on. And in fact, that might be a great, if you're just completely punting quarterback, that might be a hell of it. If you can get Matt Stafford late and then pick up Malik Willis a few rounds later, if he falls that late,
that's what I was saying.
Perfect.
On our mock draft, our mock draft, Montgomery was in the round where I picked. Who did I pick? Drake May, and I was like, dude, I could have punted Drake May, take Montgomery, and then waited till 11th round and got Matt Stafford. And so I would have had Matt Stafford and a killer number 2 running back.
Right.
So
right.
Food for thought.
Yeah, so for the Patriots, for fantasy football targets, I've got Drake May, A.J. Brown, Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson. For A.J. Brown, for him, I've got him as a potential low-end wide receiver 1 or high-end wide receiver 2. If nothing else, I think that he will definitely get the volume. I think he's going to be the number 1 target there in New England from the receiver position. For the running backs, I think it's kind of a shame that, last year we saw a little mini breakout with Travion Henderson when Ramondre Stevenson went down. He's certainly the more explosive of the 2 backs, but as soon as Ramondre Stevenson was able to come back, and Stevenson had, before they drafted Henderson, he was kind of on thin ice, with the whole fumbling issue. But again, Henderson certainly the more explosive of the 2 backs. But I think that they're going to continue to be a timeshare for better or for worse. So I think either way, both of those guys, you can probably grab them as a flex or, maybe even low end running back 2. I think if anything were to happen to either one of them, obviously their upside goes up, but I think that the upside is far greater on the Henderson side than it is the Stevenson side. What do you think about that?
Dual quarterbacks are kind of a rough thing. I definitely like when you can pick a guy who's going to get the majority of, this guy is
running
going to
backs?
What did I say? Did I
say
say quarterbacks?
Yeah,
my bad. With running backs, I like it when there's at the most a 70-30 split. And that guy who's getting the 30, if you can get him in rounds much, much deeper as a handcuff. When you're playing this game with the 50-50 running backs, especially when one of those running backs like Henderson is going probably a lot higher than Stevenson, that becomes kind of a pain in the ass because a lot of times you are trying to catch who's the goal line guy. You know, I hate playing that game. It's such a it feels like it's just like a flip of the coin, and I don't want to flip a coin for like my number 2 running back. I want the guy who's like gonna get the volume and he's gonna get the touchdowns. He's gonna get, you know, the guy who's gonna get the ball. So, but in terms of someone like Stevenson as like you said, like a low end flex, I think that, you know, that makes some sense because that could be, he could be the goal line guy. But just in terms of when you got 2 guys who are 50-50, I usually just try and stay away from that. I don't like that very much unless they're guys like, oh gosh, who were the 2? God, who were the Rick? Help me out. Who were the 2 guys for Atlanta a few years ago? You know, that was a great. It was like, dude, you get any one of those guys, and
Tevin Coleman and Devontae
Freeman. Yeah. So that's the only time where it's like, dude, you get one of these guys, and you're looking great.
Right.
You know,
more recently, like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd say that one works. But most of the time, you're trying to chase the goal line guy, and I hate that, man. I hate trying to. Same thing with like tight end. Sometimes it's like, yeah, this tight end, he gets 3 catches a game, but sometimes every other game or every 3 games, it's one of those catches a touchdown. I don't want to play that game. I don't want. It just becomes those guys that you just. What's the term? We're not flex in, but you're. I don't know. I don't want to play that.
Yeah, I think as a depth piece, like certainly again, I think that Stevenson is probably going to go far, far later in drafts. Even so, I think of the 2, even at ADP, I would be far more willing to take Henderson at his ADP. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I assume it's got to be higher than Stevenson's because he's the younger, more explosive player. But between the 2, I would be more willing to take Henderson at cost. But I'd still, you know, because of the fact that they're in a timeshare until we see otherwise, I think I'm with you. I'd probably just pass up on him unless I can get him a round or 2 later.
See, I'm kind of, in terms of which ones I would pick at their ADP, I think I'm leaning more towards Stevenson because I'm assuming I would have my starters already figured out. And maybe flex, and that's something that you can kind of, as the season goes on, there might be like third week, there might be somebody who just stands out that nobody saw was pretty good, and you pick him up on waivers, and you don't have to worry about it too much, and he can be a good backup, you know, for if one of your running backs goes on bye or something. But I feel like for cost, I think just the way they were playing him at the end of the season, I'd kind of like Stevens over Henderson because there's a good chance when the season starts, it's going to be a 50-50 split.
I'm just curious now that we're sitting here talking about it. I'm going to look up the ADP for both guys.
Let's figure this out.
Just figure out where, because I have to imagine that Ramondre Stevenson's ADP is much lower than Travion Henderson. I would have to imagine so, without question. So
what do you got?
Let me see here. ADP. So Ramondre Stevenson's ADP, he's the number 30 running back. Well, for standard, okay. So for both standard and PPR, he's the number 30 running back off the board, whereas, oh, that's kind of surprising. So for standard scoring, non-PPR, Henderson is the number 20. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so he's going about 8 running backs ahead of Ramondre Stevenson.
How much? Where is that in ADP? Because sometimes those running backs go like when they come up on ADP, they just drop. There's like 6 in a row that go. Like
so
flex or number
all
2.
I'm seeing here is just looking at Fantasy Pros. Ramondre Stevenson is the number. Let's see, draft rank. Let's see, ADP, the number 52 overall player off the board, whereas he's going about 55 spots ahead of Ramondre Stevenson.
So that'd be like a 4-round difference.
Excalibur, you're late, man. He said, "Vive la France." Vive la France. But Yeah, I don't know. I think between the two, if I had to have one or the other, I'd probably take Travion Henderson. But I can totally understand wanting to pass up and just get, if you already have like some pretty high powered running backs early on, I can see just taking the value and just having, a flex that, can get you by there in the late rounds. Moving over to the Buffalo Bills, I think this is pretty cut and dry, straightforward as well. Really, the two players that you absolutely want to have are Josh Allen and James Cook. Josh Allen is perennially a top 2 or 3, if not the number 1 overall fantasy quarterback. And James Cook, really for the past, I'd say 2 seasons, maybe 3, but definitely last 2 seasons, he has been a rock solid elite RB, if not elite RB1.
Yeah.
They just traded for DJ Moore from the Chicago Bears. So I know there's going to be a big hullabaloo about them getting DJ Moore. What I will caution people is that, and this is not, this is not me saying that DJ Moore is a bad receiver or a washed up receiver. What I'm saying is, this is not the DJ Moore that people would have been excited about getting from his Carolina Panthers days.
Right.
He's not spring chicken. He's still a quality wide receiver. Still, he played very, very well in Chicago. But I don't know that I think he can. In my opinion, this is what I have on here. I have him as a mid-range wide receiver 2, or at worst a high-end wide receiver 3. I'm sure there probably definitely will be some spike weeks where DJ Moore gets you like some solid wide receiver 1 numbers, but I would be very, very, very nervous if he was my wide receiver 1 on my roster. And then Khalil Shakir,
sure.
We've seen spike games from Khalil Shakir in the past. Josh Allen likes him, but he's very, 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 very Jekyll and Hyde. Adam actually kind of helped us out here. He said, Henderson's ADP is, that's what I said. Yeah, so basically the 55th player off the board, whereas Ramondre Stevenson is the 82nd player off the board. ADP is according to Sleeper. Khalil Shakir, he can be a low-end volatile flex that might give you a spike week, maybe a best ball type of pick there in Khalil Shakir, but that's who I have for the Buffalo Bills, unless you have anybody else or any thoughts about what I just said.
No, not really. I mean, just kind of depending on where Moore goes, that might be, like, if he drops low enough, that might just be kind of a low-risk, high-reward guy. Because if, Josh Allen, in theory, has to pass the ball to somebody. So that might be one of those kind of really low, I don't know, like, if you get him as like a 3rd wide receiver, that might just be something, okay, that might be a good place to take him. And then, you don't really lose a whole lot for a guy who's just filling up a bench spot.
Right. It looks like he is going as basically as either in half PPR, he's the 21st wide receiver off the board. Full PPR, he's the 26th wide receiver off the board, and standard 27th wide receiver off the board.
Pretty much a number, like, right as like a number 2 wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I don't think I want that.
Yeah, if I could get him as my wide receiver 3, I'm very, very, very happy getting DJ Moore as my wide receiver 3.
Yeah,
because I think at worst he is a high end wide receiver 3, but I think he could easily give you wide receiver 2, like consistent wide receiver 2 numbers if things shake out right, with some spike weeks here and there, simply because he's part of the Bills' offense. But other than that, I really don't see a ton of other players. Unfortunately, Keon Coleman, my boy out of Florida State, didn't end up shaking out in Buffalo like everybody thought he would, which is crazy because he was a freaking awesome receiver in college. But I don't want to touch Keon Coleman. I'm not going to bring him up for this. Unless you have anything else on the Bills, what do you got for the Dolphins?
Oh, we don't have anything for the Dolphins. I mean, Devon Achane, I assume will be still good, but I don't know. You think about, if don't you think like any team that goes against the Dolphins, they can just load up the box and make Achane just way less of a factor? And then, I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to pass the ball?
Yeah. Well, I think they kind of maybe did that last year, though. I mean, I know they still had Jalen Waddle there, but Waddle really wasn't getting targeted because kind of what made Waddle so dangerous with Tyreek Hill. Although his rookie season he got pretty hyper targeted, but again that was before he had Jalen Waddle to dump the ball off to.
Right.
But I think if nothing else, because of the fact that it's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde thing. I think because of the fact that their receiver list is an absolute dumpster fire for their wide receiver core for the Dolphins. But I think in light of that, Devon Achane could be your de facto wide receiver one as a running back. You know, because last year it was him and the corpse of Darren Waller, right? And last I checked, I don't think Darren Waller's back with the Dolphins. So I think that Devon Achane will definitely get his in full PPR. Now, where I do get worried about that is you have a much more mobile quarterback in Malik Willis now. So he may not dump the ball off as
and run with it. Yeah.
Right. Instead of dumping the ball off to Devon Achane, he may just panic and like you said, just take off with it. So again, you know, Devon Achane, I think you could certainly do worse as your number one running back. I'm a little nervous to pull the trigger. He's kind of one of those guys like he could absolutely explode. He's ridiculously fast, a great receiver, arguably the Dolphins' best receiver last year as a running back. But again, with a nobody list of receivers in the supporting cast or a tight end, I'm a little nervous to pull the trigger. And then I guess, like I said, you know, the only other person I brought up here on this list, and this is like super late round, like one of your absolute last picks just to take a flyer on somebody. The only really, I wouldn't even call him a big name. He was like, you know, the number 4 wide receiver who popped up every now and then during injuries for the Cowboys, Jalen Tolbert. I think that he could be a low-end flex for you, you know, a guy that you can just kind of have ride your bench and maybe fill in for injury every now and then because he's kind of, you know, the de facto wide receiver one for the Dolphins. So that might be somebody you could pick up super, super late in the drafts. Other than that, I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to be touching a whole lot of Dolphins players this year. And in fact, I would say the player that I would probably own the most of, simply because I don't want to pay the cost. I don't know that I'm going to actually own a lot of Devon Achane this year either. I would say probably the Dolphins player that I own the most of, which won't be much, it'll be like a league or two, is Malik Willis, if I can get him late enough.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't even think I'll take him.
No, I mean, I'm talking like if he drops like way down, like one of my last few picks, if I want to take a shot, because usually more often than not, unless I just get like some crazy value that just drops to me, more often than not, I find myself just streaming the quarterback position during bye weeks, unless you just have that league like full of assholes where they just hoard like 6 quarterbacks on their bench or whatever to try to like leverage a trade. But unless it's a league like that, more often than not, I just kind of stream quarterbacks for bye weeks. But if he falls far enough, I might take a shot on him just because of his rushing upside, but that's about it.
Fair enough. I don't know. I feel like that low, I'm looking at, I don't know, maybe I might just grab a random rookie QB, like whoever, was it Simpson, the guy for like Arizona? I can't even remember his name. Just some, who's the rookie quarterback for Arizona?
Carson Beck?
Oh, it is Beck? Okay. I'd probably take someone like him just because, I don't know. I don't know. Just the Jets, I just know are trying to fail. So I can't, because even if, I just had this whole idea, like even if Tolbert, does okay.
You mean the Dolphins?
Powers that, yeah, I'm dumb. It's getting less hard, dude. I'm drinking. I'm trying to wake up a little bit. I got this, the little Haitian market here, and it's got the like $1.50 energy drink, and so God knows what other chemicals are inside it right now. So, but I just feel like the Dolphins are trying to tank, and so I'm kind of like, all right, I don't need to be on this sinking ship, so why stick my toe in there?
Fair enough. And then for the Jets, really, I mean, the two main players you're probably going to see in most fantasy circles are Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. I think Breece Hall, again, if nothing else than for volume purposes, and if Geno can look anything like he did in Seattle, I think Brees Hall could actually be a decent running back too, with running back one upside. We've certainly seen games where he ends up just blowing up. And Garrett Wilson, aside from possibly that rookie tight end that they had drafted, Kenyon Sadiq, he's kind of the only show in town, other than maybe Adonai Mitchell, who they had traded from the Colts, I think, earlier last year. But I think he can be a volume-driven wide receiver too, with the rookie tight end Kenyon Sadiq there as a late-round tight end flyer. But I'm probably not going to own a lot of Jets this year either. What do you got for the Jets?
Kenyon Sadiq is actually, I think, the way I feel about tight ends, maybe the way you feel about quarterbacks. I feel like there's such a small supply of good tight ends. And, when the draft starts, there's maybe like 3 that are like ones that you want to have if you can get them. And then after that, it's just like, if you miss that cutoff, you got to wait till one of the last rounds just to pick up a rando. So with rookie tight ends, it's just one of those things where, or even just like unknown tight ends, you don't know how high that ceiling is. So if you can, just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks,
right.
That's a good time to do it, because the season might start like, holy shit, I got gold here, So out of all those guys that you have on there, I would take him at cost.
Yeah, that's fair. And for me, really, I'm of the philosophy. I don't know that I necessarily feel that way exclusively about quarterbacks. My philosophy is just that you can take one or the other early. I don't think it's wise to do both, because it's depending on what type of league you're in. Obviously, if it is a super flex league where you have to start multiple quarterbacks, then obviously quarterbacks are going to be a premium. But if it's your run-of-the-mill fantasy league, where you have one starting quarterback, one starting tight end, and then 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, and whatever. I think in those type of leagues, which is, more your family league, your work league, your mom and pop league, whatever, if you take a quarterback or a tight end early, you can't do the same for the other position. Like, you have to kind of, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't build go from there and focus on building your running back and wide receiver depth. So
that's true, but I feel like if you take it, I think on the back end of your draft, you are looking, instead of, you're picking between, I have to fill up this tight end spot or this flex spot. I feel like it is much easier to go into the start the season not having your flex figured out quite yet, because chances are you're going to be able to find somebody, like, as the season goes, to fill in that spot. Much better chance than you would a tight end. So to me, the way I look at it, I don't do this for every league. It just sometimes if the draft goes that way and I can get a tight end early, then I can, it's going to be the flex position I'm going to have a hard time filling out. But if I do get a tight end early, then to me, it's the flex position at the end that I'm trying to figure out. And you might have one of those guys, those running backs, who's a 50-50 split, and that's not really, I don't like that, but, it's a good filler spot until, like, someone gets hurt and you get that waiver pickup and you can get them later. I just think it's so hard to get a good tight end, like, as the season goes on.
Yeah, certainly. And that's not to say, like, I think Kenyon Sadiq kind of works perfectly for both of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. I think that you can grab, like, if you wanted to go super early tight ending and grab one of the big, what's the guy? Yeah, Bowers, or the guy from Arizona. His name is escaping me for some reason. Like those types of guys. Then 100%, like, you can grab them, and then at the back end, grab your Kenyon Sadiq type. Or even if you took, like, kind of my approach, where you took somebody like a Harold Fannin, maybe in the mid to late-ish rounds, who has flashed before, and then you want to grab another kind of lottery ticket upside piece because of their freak athleticism. I think either one could work. My thing is just, if I'm going to grab, a Brock Bowers, I'm probably not going to be, in the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow sweepstakes as well.
Okay.
Because there's so many like top tier running backs and wide receivers you have to have depth.
Yeah, I agree with you right. Like yes, you're 100% right, because there is that in the same spot where there's those elite tight ends, there's also a handful of those elite QBs up there. And so if you're taking your early tight end, you're taking an early quarterback, that's like round 2, like round 3 and round 4. And so now your number 2 wide receiver, your number 2 running back are going to be much more trash than need be.
Right. Trey McBride, that's who I was thinking of.
Trey McBride. Also,
shout out to Excalibur. I know, sorry for getting your comment a little bit later, buddy, but I think he was kind of going back and talking about the USA soccer game. He says, I will never eat another Belgian waffle again. Cannot make the mistakes at that level, and he thinks that indoor soccer is better. Honestly, probably right. I've never watched indoor soccer. I'm not sure.
Is that is that like arena football, or what does that mean? Just like
I guess it'd be like
in a
arena
dome?
soccer? Yeah, probably like in a dome. Probably in a dome. But yeah, no, I think we're pretty much saying the same thing. It should be really, I think it's to nobody's surprise. I don't think anybody is under any type of impression that this is not a two-way race between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. I think there are a couple of pieces from each team that have, there's a couple fantasy assets from each team. Certainly more on the Patriots and Buffalo Bills side than there are either the Miami Dolphins or New York Jets. But that's not to say there aren't a couple of players that you can take a shot at. So we'll see how the division shakes out. The Buffalo Bills will be playing in their brand new shiny stadium this year.
And I didn't realize it was done yet.
Yeah, no, it's done. There's videos of it and everything, pictures of it online. It's a pretty freaking nice stadium, and I think it's funny, and maybe I'm overreacting here a little bit, but it wasn't that long ago, and Excalibur will appreciate this, but it wasn't that many years ago when the whole thing with the St. Louis Rams or St. Louis suing the Rams, filing a lawsuit against the NFL and against Stan Kroenke for the Rams skipping town. And at that time, it was like, they had sued them for $1 billion, ended up settling for, I think it was like $790 million. And now all of a sudden, of course, you did have a couple of teams that moved. You had right around that same time, the Chargers and the Raiders left town. Right. But I think it's awfully funny now, because at that time, every single thing that the NFL tried to do to get out of that lawsuit with the Rams, the courts kept telling them, no, man, kick rocks. We're not going to just sweep this under the rug. We're going to kind of peel back the onion here and figure out what happened, with this move and whatnot. And as it relates to your own collective bargaining agreement and so on and so forth, your league policy and this, that, and the other. I know that the Bills at one point had kind of flirted with the idea of moving. And so I don't know what the funding was like for their new stadium, but they're getting a new stadium. The Jaguars will soon be getting a new stadium.
Really?
Yep.
They were talking about that. Almost sounded like it was certain, like they were going to move until they started getting good. And it's probably the same with the Bills too, right? Because wasn't most of that conversation when the Bills had that long streak of never making the playoffs, and then they were talking about maybe like moving to Toronto or some nonsense.
Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. And, there was even, I want to say as recently as maybe within the past 5 or so years that the Bills had kind of flirted with the idea of relocating. And the Jags did as well, although they came up with a plan for the stadium. I want to say the Jags, maybe by the 2027, 2028 season, they should be playing in a brand new, almost, I say domed stadium, but dome kind of like in the same sense that the Rams have a dome, where it has that clear glass
it's covered,
top.
yeah.
Right.
Tennessee has a new one, too.
Tennessee, yeah.
Yep.
So I think it's just interesting to me. He says Buffalo number 1. Yep, Buffalo getting their new. Oh, you have wait.
He has
Excalibur,
number 1, I think.
Yeah, Excalibur, let us know in the comments. Do you think that, are you saying that for the AFC East, you have Buffalo number 1 over New England? Because if so, that would be an interesting thing to discuss and kind of get your thoughts on that. By the way, folks, if you look,
20. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry.
I was gonna say, I think he might have paused and not realize it because it sounds like he's like 20 minutes behind.
Right.
Our show.
Well, and I'm kind of curious. While I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm going to log into our YouTube channel and just see where the stream is at with our show. It looks like it's a couple minutes behind.
Couple of minutes. Yeah. All right.
But I just saw you rub your eye like you just did just now. But,
So we're a couple seconds behind.
yeah, it's a couple seconds behind, but yeah, Excalibur, let us know in the comment section. Do you think that are you saying that you have Buffalo behind or over New England? They're at number 1. Yeah, I think with it's just funny that I think it's reasonable to question whether or not that the drama that the NFL went through with St. Louis did that set a precedent of, hey, maybe we need to kind of more strongly look at the markets that we already have, the markets that we're already in. Because, I mean, sure, $790 million is, a penny in the bucket for the NFL, but it's still, and I think St. Louis pulled out too quickly. I think they should. I don't think they should have settled. I think they should have kept going. The lawsuit was for $1 billion. Everything that the Rams tried to throw at it, to include trying to take it to the U.S. Supreme Court and getting told to get bent. Everything that the NFL did, every court told them no, 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 no. But I wonder if that almost set a precedent for any of these like teams considering relocation,
Especially with the Jags, because I feel like the Jags were more likely. Maybe I don't know the full story, but I felt like they were more likely to move than the Bills. I know the Bills definitely talked about it a lot, but it sounded like with the Jaguars, because at the time they just weren't. They weren't really filling up the stadiums too well. They're always, and I still don't like the fact they always make them go to England for like multiple games a year. I think that's kind of bullshit. But it sounded like for a while there were guys like made it sound like the Jaguars are going to be the first, NFL team in England, and that seemed like that was the talk for a while. But it seems like the fans really just kind of put their foot down and like, actually, no, we really like football here. So I'm happy to see that because no one likes, we had the Sonics leave and obviously you had St. Louis leave. Like no one likes their team leaving. It might be a little different than teams like the Raiders where just, I don't know, that situation I think was a lot different. A lot of people will say it's the same or really similar to St. Louis, but I think people from the outside looking in, they just had like the absolute worst stadium in football, but not like maybe in like professional sports.
You're talking about Buffalo?
The Raiders.
Oh yeah, sorry,
the Coliseum, because it was just that was just so bad. Yeah. So I was gonna say because like there are some diehard Oakland fans that say that it's a similar situation, but it's just it wasn't. I think a lot of people can look at that and say that's different than what happened to St. Louis. And it would have been different than, I think the Jaguars and the Bills. But
yeah, this is I'm going to add this to the screen here. That's
their stadium?
Well, it's not. This is just the digital rendering, but this is what the Jaguars stadium will be whenever they open up. It does look a lot like SoFi.
Dude, wow. That looks a lot like, God
so
dang.
That's their current stadium. You see they're currently doing construction. That is what the new Jaguars stadium will look like.
Crazy. That's kind of what it's. It's funny. This is like one of my favorite parts of the show is like looking at stadiums. I don't know why I always dig it, but boy, that's interesting. I feel like some of these stadiums they just need to. I'd just be kind of curious, like these, like once we get into like the $1 billion stadiums, like how long they're going to let those kind of be a thing if they're made to be like, no, this is going to be a stadium for the next 60 years, because so many stadiums are like, oh yeah, like freaking like Tennessee or in the Jaguars too. Those stadiums are what 20, 26 years old. Like the Jaguars are from like the mid to late 90s. Yeah, and then Tennessee, yeah, that was like what 98 or something. So it's, oh my God, that stadium's only been around for like 20 something years. But the Kingdom was the same way. Like it was built in the 70s, and then they tore it down in the late 90s. So now that we're getting to the multi-billion-dollar price range, I'd just be really curious to see, like, okay, now that we're spending this much money on a stadium, how much longer is it going to last? You compare that to, I think I went through a list of like the most expensive stadiums, at least, and I think the New Orleans, their dome, I can't remember what it's called. I think that was made for like $100,000, or excuse me, $100 million. Yeah. And it's it's still around. I'm sure it's got some problems and they've redone some stuff, but I don't know. I'd be curious if these stadiums are built to last way longer than that.
Yeah. Should be interesting. Adam says you can take the Jags out of Duval, but you can't take Duval out of the Jags. Duval. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I miss Jacksonville, man. I mean, as much as I love living in Maryland now, it's a cool state, but I do miss Jacksonville. I do. Shout out to if there's any of my my former neighbors or friends and whatnot that live down there that do watch the show. Miss you guys. Love you guys. I think, we're getting pretty close to 2 hours here. I think that is pretty much going to do it for us tonight, folks. Unless, Danny, there's anything else you got.
Oh, let me do my thing real quick. I got to get out of the full screen mode here. Hold on a second.
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Thanks, Adam. Thanks to Excalibur. Thanks for Unconcerned Sweatshop. Let's see.
It's like a bot. It's a bot on Twitch.
Hey, well,
Sweatshop.
Yeah, I'm thinking. No big deal. Hey, Maria Garcia, we hope to see you next week. Shannon, Teddy. I think that's about everyone. If I miss you, I'm sorry. We'll see you next week. Make yourself known.
Yep. Yeah. Appreciate you guys tuning in again. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and Twitch now. So if you're not following us there, if you feel like you don't feel like watching live, you just want to listen throughout the week. Obviously, Spotify is the way to go. We are on Facebook. We by far have our most followers there. I think we've got like 120 some odd people following us on Facebook, and only like 20 or so, like 25 or so subscribers on YouTube. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to put out a challenge right now, and we'll figure out what it is, but I'm thinking I'm going to do a little giveaway. I've got some neat little stuff that I can raffle off sports-wise. If we can get up to 100 followers or subscribers on YouTube, since we already have that on Facebook, it's specifically on YouTube, let your friends know. I'll figure something out, and I'll announce what it's going to be and what that giveaway is going to be. But let's get up to 100 subscribers. Let's hit our first milestone here on YouTube, and we'll do some type of giveaway. We'll see what that ends up being. But that is going to do it for us tonight, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a little bit of a longer show, and appreciate Tyrek, if you ever go back and watch this. Appreciate you joining us tonight, buddy. We will catch you all next week.